entombed for 3,000 years, wrapped growing in me. I have lived an eternity, suspended in darkness. Release me. Condemned and bound, the sands of time have run out. Curtis fills the room, curiously open my tomb. Rising from the cradle of death, my sentence has come to an end. Release me, release me, wasting and running. Release me, release me. My curse is your curse, death is the gift I bring. Revenge in my hands, I feel no remorse. This is the mommy's curse. Release me, release me, wasting and running. Release me.
Of thoughts, watching your every move. I'm obsessed with you. Twisted thoughts erupting and slowly decaying. My jealousy, my envy is tearing me apart. A wicked man and his wicked deeds.
Masquerading as a child
A
of
monster
light.
with his cruel knees, as he dances with his sick fantasy.
What is done in the dark will always be brought to light.
Slithering around the murky green swamp, voodoo priests enchanting the dance, making deals in the dark. The laughing spirits and all that they haunt. A wicked man and his wicked deeds.
Masquerading as a child
A
of
monster
light.
with his cruel knees, as he dances with his sick fantasy.
What is done in the dark will always be brought to light.
A foul smell in the air, potions fill my lair. Deception lurking and waiting, with envy in my eye. My spirits ascend to spy. Voodoo is the ritual. Odor fills the room. Smoke-stained walls, and the energy is gloom. A wicked man and his wicked deeds.
Masquerading as a child
A
of
monster
light.
with his cruel needs.
Envy he cannot
As he
fight.
dances with his sick fantasy.
What is done in the dark will always be brought to light.
Twisting the truth, for there is none in me. Weaving dark magic all through the night. Tears of envy, my jealousy ignites. Darkness encasing a lie in the night. My lying tongue grows fatter with every deceitful breath. My soul is rotting and it tastes like death. A wicked man and his wicked deeds.
Masquerading as a child
A
of
monster
light.
with his cruel needs.
Envy he cannot
As he
fight.
dances with his sick fantasy.
What is done in the dark will always be brought to light.
The cloaked deceit. This is my life, I'm doomed to repeat. A treacherous heart, envy growing in me. I wish I was you, with everything that I do. A wicked man and his wicked deeds.
Masquerading as a child
A
of light.
monster with his cruel needs.
Envy he cannot
As he
fight.
dances with his sick fantasy.
What is done in the dark will always be brought to light.
Reaching out to the filthiest of scum. Wishing I was him, not the man I become. The sickness in me, I'm a lunatic disease. Traitors and manipulators, part of my flock. We twist the truth and dance in the dark. The flames of hell are licking my feet.
Good will prevail. You will all fail. Bite that brings out. In the dark you hear a growl. Monsters in the night, unnatural appetite. A demon sent me here to take you to the afterlife. I feel something change inside of me. The inner human slowly dead in me. I feel it come alive. The darkness brings me light. There ain't no stopping it, and you will never hide from me. Pain of the change. What have I become? A creature of the night. Ruled by moonlight. The pain of the change. This body's no longer mine. Feel wild and free, but caged at the same time. It's time to be human, think human, feel human. A hunger's arising inside of me. The beast is alive and break it free. It's time to be human, think human, feel human. Keep putting more chains on the beast. Hope it don't break loose. You better hope so too.
All right, welcome everybody to Paranormal Roundtable. Let's pause that. So, Tuesday night, and it didn't look like we have a whole lot of people in the chat right now, but I'm sure some people will show up. Typically, Tuesdays, we start off at 7, which is 7 Central, but I got BMR that's got to do a show. And I don't want to step on his toes. Last night, I was supposed to be on Danielle Borazon's show, and I apologize to her for not being able to make it. I had a work emergency, literally. So I'm sitting here still working. It never ends. But now I'm taking on a lot more responsibility. So what I want to do tonight, and I'm going to do some different things. We're going to do some different things. We're going to do something different tonight. I want to bring on somebody who I've been friends with in this field for a long time, several years now. And I want to start showcasing some of the women that do good work in this field. And she's one of them. She's one of them. And if there's a little bit of an echo here, it's because we're in the process of packing, because we got to move, because we don't want to be here for certain reasons. So we're getting out of Dodge. We're going to move to a further out to a place, hopefully, that's more safe, more accommodating. I want to get some people in this chat, get it going here. But I want to talk about a few things that have been going on. And one of the things, I want to look at it from a female's perspective. So let me kill that real quick, that conversation. It's a word conversation. But so what I want to do is get a female's perspective on it. I wanted to get a couple different people to come in and do whatever they, to talk about this. And what it is we were talking about SA. If you don't know what SA is, it's a type of assault. And everybody knows that we talked about this the other night on the show on Sunday. It's a very difficult subject to broach. But the response was overwhelmingly positive from people saying, hey, I'm glad that you actually brought it up and that you talked about it. And since Sunday, and today is only Tuesday, I've gotten 2 more reports that people have come forward and said. One was in North Dakota. The other one was in Wisconsin. And this happened to these people. They were both female. And so I know that a lot of people aren't talking about this. And this isn't something that I want to become known as the guy that talks about this, because it's not really, I don't think it's anybody's wheelhouse at all right now. I already have a wheelhouse, and well, that's not it. But one of my listeners, she reminded me, she's like, your wheelhouse is pretty much everything. And you've said that. So I said, yes, you're correct. So Cheryl, you're correct. Yes, it is. And I've talked about her show, our story on the show too. So but it wasn't about that. Let's make that clear. So I want to bring somebody on who is a female who's been doing a lot of work in the paranormal and cryptid field in this community. And I think it's important that we have a frank discussion about how women feel about certain subjects in this field and what it's like to be a woman in this field, because I don't know. I know what women tell me, and I can try to have enough perception to empathize and whatever. But I think that we need to bring some people on and have frank discussions about certain things. And this is somebody who's a witness too, who's actually seen things. And so right now I'm going to bring her on. Hey, Jen, you want to say hi?
Hi.
There you go. You adjusted your camera a little bit.
Yeah.
So this is Jen Jacob. She's been a friend of mine and a friend of the PRT family for a long time. She was on the show once during a live stream, and you actually told your encounter of what happened to you. And it was very interesting. I remember that one very specifically because of the verbiage, the wording that was used, and the description of what this being looked like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought it was very interesting. Yeah. And so you came on, but it wasn't video or whatever. And so there's several things I want to get into with you. First of all, tell people who you are, what you do, and your involvement in the community.
I look kind of bald tonight, but I'm not, I promise. It's just really hot here. It's like 90 some and really muggy.
Everybody's judging you right now, so just be ready.
Probably.
I'm kidding.
And you know what? I don't care.
Don't let it bother you. Look, I don't care.
Oh, I'm not. You know me. Yeah. So what I do is I hold multiple conferences. I heard you talking about the sexual assault. I hold multiple conferences throughout the year for domestic violence and SA victims, the shelters and the locations we hold it at. And what we do is we bring in speakers, vendors. We even have a discussion panel. And I just had the women's event where we brought in all female speakers. We donated to the local DV shelter in Tennessee. And then coming up in September, we're going to have the Erie Expo, which features men of the paranormal. And I know I had talked to you about this before, you and Nellie both. And I know things that's happened in your past, things you've seen. I know you really support women in the field, men, even men can be assaulted.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually have a friend that sent me a clip and he said, listen to how she's talking to me. And I was like, holy cow. So, and that will be at Ashmore Estates on September 21st. And we're giving back to Hope of East Central Illinois. It'll be a fundraiser for them. We're taking donations. Then I'm going to have the Lake Erie Hallow Fest up in Sandusky, and we're going to give to them for the second time this year. So that goes to a shelter and to, it's called Care and Share, where they take clothing donations as well. So I try to do some good in the field. My friend refers to me as the paranormal philanthropist. So.
And so you have this paranormal retreat that you guys are doing for women, right?
It's the Women of the Paranormal celebration, yeah, but it's open to everybody.
Yeah. And so you've been doing that for a while, and I've noticed that your events are starting to gain some traction, and you're starting to get more speakers and things like that. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good thing. I think a lot of times when you see a panel, whether it's a Bigfoot conference, well, in particular, Bigfoot conference, really heavily stacked toward men. But when you see these conferences, paranormal, or whether it's a Bigfoot conference or it's just cryptids or whatever it is, it always seems to be heavily male dominated. And I'm not over here. I'm not no social justice warrior. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, let's change everything, whatever. Things are the way they are for a reason. But I would like to see more inclusivity with different people, because with different people's backgrounds, coming from different races, religions, and genders, then you can actually start to get a wider scope of what is going on that you don't see when everything is just kind of one way. And so I do think it's very important. I think it's something that we needed to be working on. And I know in the past people have lampooned me for every single thing they could come up with. And so this is something you could attest to this. We've been talking about this for a couple of years now, about how we can make it more inclusive and have more for women. At our conference, we made it a point to have females that were there to be a part of it. And that's one of the things that I wanted to do this coming year too. We had Jill Remenschneider, who was slated to speak, and then they had a scare because of, they got sick or whatever. Her husband was exposed to the virus, and so they were worried that he might get people sick or he might be sick. And so they had to kind of they couldn't show up. We had to, but I thought it was important though to have her there and Bettina there and the other females that were there. Sibylla had to back out at the last minute too. And so we had it planned out that we wanted there to be more inclusivity when it came to female to male ratio. And I think it's important that we discuss that and we talk about the future of females in this field. And I really, really, really strongly suggest to people who are, looking into doing this and being a part of this field that you making sure you balance it out with the people that you interview, the people that you bring on, and the stories that you retell. And I try to tell a pretty even male to female ratio, but I don't really go by that. I go by the stories and what I think is pertinent to, what we're going to talk about. And it just so happens that sometimes it is slanted toward females, sometimes it's slanted toward males. But I've noticed that there's a trend in this field that a lot of times it seems like that men get a lot more coverage, especially in the cryptid field. The paranormal, because they divide it up as paranormal being like ghosts. I don't look at it that way. I don't believe in that. But there's a lot of people now who are starting to move towards, Bigfoot, Dogman, ghost, alien abduction. It's all connected, which I'm glad and proud to say that I've been at the forefront of that and hammering away at that needs to be all one subject. One conversation. It needs to be had about all of it. It's all together. And a lot of people want to keep on compartmentalizing it and making it like, no, if there's ghosts, there's ghosts. If there's Bigfoot, there's Bigfoot. If there's Dogman, there's Dogman. That's not the case. Not at all. Because what I'm seeing, and now you're starting to see like these shows are starting to show up. More and more people in this field are starting to do all of it. They're starting to cover the whole gamut. And that's what needs to happen.
And I've been doing that for years. Yeah,
you've been doing it for a long time, and it's something that you and I have talked about at length for a long time. Now, the truth of the matter is too that you and I are friends, but we don't all have the same friends, and everybody knows there's people that you like that I don't, and vice versa. But we still manage to make friends, and we don't all believe the same. And you don't have to. There's no manual, no field guide that says, "Hey, you got to believe like this." I know you're still part of the NADP, right?
Yeah, I'm actually Region 2 director now for the Midwest.
And so Jody and I just talked a few days ago, and about him returning because I wanted him to come on a Saturday show. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I believe, and I feel like there's going to be a push in this field where there are going to be several women that are going to become very prominent in this field. And like I said before, I'm not trying to make it happen or force it to happen. I think it's just going to happen naturally. I've said this on my show, and I'm going to say it again, that women have a sixth sense that men don't. Okay. Men have other abilities, strong testosterone and things like that. That's just a natural thing. But women have an ability to kind of sense danger in a way that men don't. And I've said this on my show, and I have a theory about it, and I'm going to postulate on it for a minute here. I believe that women are connected and in tune to the household. And I think that because back in the day, women stayed behind to watch the kiddos while the men went out and hunted and fought and did whatever they had to do as men. And women, they had to learn to kind of have an ability to catch on. Hey, are those hoof beats? What is that? Is this the Comanches? Are they coming? Do I need to go and get in the root cellar with the kiddos? Are we in trouble? It goes back to ancient antiquity. And I think that it's something that's kind of evolved within people. Whether you believe in evolution, it's not about coming from monkeys. What I'm talking about is it evolving from people and saying, hey, this is, quote unquote, what needs to happen. Because women, oftentimes when you do paranormal investigations, and I've done a lot of them, women are at the forefront of catching on to what's messing with their children or their husband or themselves. And men, a lot of times, are in denial. Because, and I believe this is the truth, men don't want to admit that they're scared. They don't want to admit that it's happening because it's something they can't control. You have no control over these beings. You have no control over what they're doing. Oftentimes you can't stop them. Look at this movie. It was called The Entity.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that poor guy, he was crying, and he was like, I can't do anything to stop what's happening to my girlfriend. I mean, It was beautiful. It was like it makes you feel impotent and weak. And so men, oftentimes, they will just like flat out deny it and just be in complete and total denial. They're like, this isn't happening. This isn't real. And they want to rationalize it away. And the woman is going like, yes, it is real. Yes, it is happening. And you cannot rationalize this away. Mm-hmm. And so this becomes an issue that I think we're looking at like the future, there's going to be a lot more women that are going to be stepping up and leading the charge and saying that this stuff is happening. Now, I know that a lot of women are coming forward with the essay. I like to say essay, I don't, because it's YouTube, but it's basically a type of assault. Do the math. It's not a physical. Well, it is physical too, but it's not a physical beat up. I'm talking about something else. You said it earlier, but it's what's happening. And there are women that are saying, look, this is happening, and even a couple of men. And then they get mocked and criticized. And of course, the peanut gallery came out in full force, and I got a message yesterday telling me that I'm a kook and all this other stuff, and that I shouldn't be talking about this. This is from some guy whose beard is down to his navel, who roams around the woods screaming for Bigfoot all the time. So I don't give a crap what he has to say. Honestly, I'm not going to give him the time of day or say his name. But I think he needs to go wash and shave. That's my opinion, personally. Give a crap what he thinks. But he's just like, why are you talking about this subject? Do you know that doesn't happen? And he believes in a flesh and blood creature. And I said, well, if you believe that they are a gigantic ape chimp type thing, which he believes, I said, then you don't believe that they would do that? Because dolphins do it. So do lots and lots of other animals. And they'll do it to each other and to people and different species. So why would you not think that that's possible or acceptable? And I said, but then again, you have the paranormal side of things as they try to compartmentalize it, which isn't correct. But the ghost aspect of it, the spiritual aspect of it, it happens there too. That's what an incubus and a succubus are.
Yep.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on I know that's a lot to digest, but give me your spin. What are you thinking?
Well, go back a little ways. Are you okay? Xander's over here choking on me. He warmed me up some pizza. Yeah. But to go back, I agree with you. I think it's all unknown. So Anthony said, and don't want to feel helpless. So to go back, I think it's all unknown. So I don't know why we have to have separate fields. I enjoy investigating all of it. And I told you this before. I've had men try to blackball me from the cryptid field before. And last night I did an interview with the gentleman that applied for the men's event, the Erie Expo over at Ashmore Estates in September. And he tried to mansplain me about the Beast of Bray Road. So they kind of talk down to you. A lot of men do. And then I've had women come to me that interviewed for the women's event and have quit their paranormal ghost hunting teams because the male founder was trying to grab them in the dark.
See, I haven't heard that, but I know one woman in particular who's a good friend of the show, and she quit because of there was a male that was in charge who actually basically just told her that her opinion didn't matter.
Yep, that's.
And he doesn't like her politics. Kiddo's okay?
Yeah, he just won't get a drink. He's over here.
You want to take care of that?
Yeah.
I can talk, and I can.
Yeah, he's good. I told him to get a drink.
Yeah, if you need to, just put stop camera, and I'll take over. No big deal.
Okay.
Everybody knows I like to talk, so it doesn't matter.
But yeah, the men do talk down to you. I've been removed from groups because I knew more than the men. They don't like that, and particularly about cryptids. And as she said, it's a male-dominated field. I've had other women come and tell me about location owners trying to grab them and grope them. One of my gals that was a team lead for the women's event, she is no longer allowed in one location in Colorado because she stood up to the owner and told him, no, you're not going to touch me. Wow. So she's not allowed back in there. There's locations. A gentleman owns 5 locations, and he let a guy that spoke to and touched a woman inappropriately, or tried to, I should say. He was fired over a year ago from a location. It's just, they just continue, and it does happen more than you know. I mean, women don't want to come out and speak about it because, like the guy you were talking about, they want to deny it. Oh, that doesn't happen, but it does. And women feel like they would be shunned or wear a scarlet letter. So, but it does happen more often than you know. I've seen text messages. A friend of mine, she's an advocate as well. I have two gals that are staunch female advocates. My friend Tracy actually holds an event for shelters as well. It's Boo Bitches Paranormal. And she's going to have an event up at the Hinsdale House in August.
Boo Bitches.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's an acronym for something. I can't remember it all. It's an acronym.
Well, the problem for me with that is if you're calling yourself a bitch, you can't really expect men to be respectful of you. That's my thing. You know, I wouldn't call myself that. That's just me.
She's actually a survivor herself. So she holds these events. And another gal that's a staunch advocate, she has shared some text messages with me about a gentleman, I'm using that term loosely, that I don't know how to say this without putting his name out there, but I'm trying not to. My friend actually was on a tour with him, and she kept telling him she's married, she's married, she's married. He wouldn't leave her alone. Got mad at another girl because she wouldn't give in to him and go to his room with him. And then I saw text messages where he needed release because his girlfriend was pregnant.
See, and this happens at conferences too.
This was on, this happens at conferences. This was at a conference. And a good friend of mine, she actually removed him after hearing all this from a conference. And I'm not naming names, but
and when you talk about this kind of stuff that's happening in this field, then you know it's hard to, because somebody had said that, you know, me talking about what I talked about on Sunday, this is another person. This is I'm assuming is a guy. I'm assuming that because I didn't get a gender on the email, but the email was like their nickname was Flame something. But you know, and so I'm not attacking you, person that sent me that, but I thought that you came at me in an inappropriate tone because they said that I opened up a effing can of worms that isn't going to be able to close because a lot of people listen to what I have to say and blah blah blah. And I said that's exactly why I did it. Now, I will say this. I will go on the record and say that I don't agree with the term mansplaining. That's just me. I don't think that that's a thing. That's no offense to you, Jen, because women do the same thing to me. Like they'll try to explain to me. And it comes from typically millennials that run these sites that I go work at, and they try to explain things to me from their perspective. And they kind of tend to assume that I'm a very large masculine man. And it's just the truth. And they assume that I don't have any clue or I'm not plugged into understanding women. Now, the field captain that works for me and my partner and has been for 18 years or 13 years or 14 years, whatever it is, she's in charge.
Is it Kim?
She's a very tough woman who I've seen deal with men and women. And she's not like this butch female. She's a feminine woman, but she's also very stern, very tough, and she's good at administration. So she runs our patrol. And so I have had men on job sites who were shocked by how she handled things and they thought, hey, they changed their opinion on how women could do the job. And so, but by the same token, I've had men and women both kind of talk to me in a way that I think is like talking down to me because they don't know my level of education or they don't know, they don't look at me and think that I can comprehend or have perception enough to have empathy for certain things. And that's not the truth or the case at all. People that follow the show like you do and that know who I am, you know that that's not me. And I'm very upfront and honest about everything I do. And there's always transparency there. So that's just me, and that's not being confrontational, though. But I just wanted to throw that out there because some people are going to be like, well, she's saying that, and these are trigger keywords and all sort of stuff. This isn't political at all. All we're doing is saying that this is happening. And when you talk about Bigfoot doing what we talked about on Sunday, I'm sorry, folks, but now we went through as a team and we found 13. Now, in the big scheme of things, and the number of reports is massive that we get here. Now, files from the NADP, from the IDP. I also have files from Albert Rosales. I can talk to him. I can talk to Josh Finocchio and get these guys, Steve Stockton. They have massive amounts of reports that you can draw upon. I can't even mention all the other people. There's a ton of people that I've made deals with over the years that, hey, you let me use your work, I'll let you use mine. There's an open thing there. I see people retelling the stories that I've told on the show or talking to those witnesses themselves. And I never once go over there and try to bogart and be like, hey, wait, what are you doing? That's my witness. I don't, no. If that person wants to talk to me, they can talk to you. They can talk to anybody else in this field. And I have never been that way with people. I hear the stories get retold and somebody retells it, and I don't go and trip out about it. I'm okay with that because the information needs to be out there. Now, if somebody retells it better than me, or if they get the person on and they like the way they tell their own story better, so be it. Or if they were on my show, then they go on someone else's show. That's okay. As long as the information is put out there. I don't try to hold on to the information. Once it's out there, everybody knows, and all my colleagues anyway in this field know that I'm not stingy. Yes, exactly. Anthony just hit the nail on the head. He says, the stories belong to those who live through them.
That's a really good point.
Mm-hmm. And so what we do, and Jen, you know this, we've always been very, about the witnesses and about their comfort of what they want to do, and their safety is of the utmost importance. And so here at Paranormal Roundtable, we've always tried to live our lives that way and go forward in a way that is amicable for most people. Not everybody. Not everybody's going to like it or agree with it. But I do try to do what I feel is right. And so Smurfy says there are 62 gender. I don't agree with that, Smurfy, but yeah, I get what you're saying, okay? But yeah, what I try to do, though, is make sure that everybody's represented, male and female, black, white, brown, yellow. It doesn't matter what your skin tone, what your religion, whether you're Christian, Muslim, Jewish, whether you believe in Buddha or you're a Hindu. I don't care. I don't care.
I don't either.
People as individuals, and this is not me being a virtue signaler. I look at me, I don't care. I just do what I think is right and what I feel is right in my heart. And so when I interview people and I talk to them and I retell their encounters, there are certain things sometimes that they'll tell me, look, can you not talk about that? Well, what we did here, we went as a team and we looked into these reports. We found 13 cases of SA. 3 involving Dogman and 10 involving Bigfoot, and then 2 more that came in just over this past couple of days, which I'm assuming will probably come in. Do what?
I've heard of it too. Not the Dogman, but more the Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, yeah. The Dogman reports were interesting because one of them, I think, was a type of Gugwe individual creature that did this in the Adirondacks. And so I'm wondering, what, I mean, you get these in the UFO abduction cases a lot. That is like the cornerstone of that. That just happens. And then we just up to this point, I've counted 34 cases that we have reports of. Now you got to remember, having access to all these different reports. I mean, so some of these other people have these reports too. But 34 that I got in my case files, okay, of demonic rape of this. That it happens. And then and it happens to male and female. I had an African-American individual. I've known him for years, and I know him in my personal life. And he told me, he says, my stepbrother, he goes, in our community, it's not something, it's very emasculating to, he said, look, my stepbrother, who I actually interviewed, and funny, he's got the same name as his name is Owen. And I talked to him, and it happened to him from the time he was a child until he was an adult. And it was a demonic entity that was doing this to him. And in front of his sister, and it was like she couldn't see the entity. He could see it very clearly, but she could not see the entity that was doing this. And he goes, dude, and he's 47 years old now. He's a year younger than me. And so, he's to the point now where he is able to talk about it. It hasn't happened, thank God, in 17 years.
Well,
so at the age of 30, he got saved, and it stopped.
Mm-hmm.
He said the night after he had accepted Christ, and this isn't about religion or anything else. This is just the truth of what he told me, or he told us, me and one of my people. He said, look, the night that I got accepted into Christ, it stopped. It stopped. He's like, and I couldn't hold on to a relationship. He goes, I could not. He goes, it made me confused about my sexuality. He goes, I was pretty clear in what I wanted. Like, it was like night and day once I accepted Christ. He goes, it was like I was no longer confused. I had this awakening, and this is what he said. And he said that, and his stepbrother was very kind to try to, he was on the phone with us to try to mediate and make sure he knew I wasn't some kook that, then this is my friend Greg. He's known me since we were teenagers. Mm-hmm. Said, look, I listened to your show off and on. We've known each other forever. He goes, my cousin has had this stuff happening to him. This was about 2 months ago when we first started talking about it. And I didn't really know how to broach it. So me and Anthony, who I just posted his comment, he didn't know how to broach the subject. We talked about it, and Anthony said, well, maybe when we do talk about the essay with Bigfoot, then we can kind of lead into this and figure out like how we can present it to people. And if you're a survivor of this, and then it hit me like lightning out of the blue when I was just driving the other day. I had to do patrol at night, and it can be, just kind of monotonous. I was sitting there driving, and I was like, what if I compiled these reports and write about it? Because maybe that's another avenue that people can, so if you don't, it might be easier for somebody to read it. So now I'm in the process of maybe going through some of these reports. I've vetted them pretty heavily. I think they're all correct. I think they're all being honest, because one of the things I believe is how many people are going to want to come forward and say that this happened to them and it's not true. Of course it could be. But I don't think very many people are going to want to tell people that happened to them, especially if it's not real. Yeah. It's just, and I'm not one of those people that just takes everything at face value. And Jen, you know that.
Oh, I don't either.
Yeah. In fact, you and I have talked about different cases and things over the years. It's just a weird thing. Like, so how do we go forward and say, hey, so maybe writing about this, and putting it into pen to paper maybe could be another alternative. And there's a female that wants to maybe co-author a book with me, and she wanted to talk about these things at one point, but everybody was just like, well, this isn't the place for that, blah, blah, blah. And she was at a conference and they kind of ridiculed her about it. And I was like, when is the time and place? And shame on me for not bringing it out sooner and saying something about it, because I did know about it. But I didn't really, and this isn't an excuse. There is no excuse, honestly. I'll just be honest. But I didn't go back and look to see how many reports there were. I knew that there were multiple, but I had no idea that we had a baker's dozen right there that were pretty in depth. There were a couple other reports that kind of alluded to it. And I was kind of wondering about that. And it kind of went into this folder of miscellaneous Bigfoot. So there was nowhere to put them. So Tony, me, Anthony just kind of were throwing them into this, limbo file. And I had a talk with them, and I said, we have kind of done ourselves and the community a disservice. But Anthony made the point, and he's like, no one else is doing it. And I said, yeah, but that's true. But that doesn't mean that we should follow suit and just be the same people, because we've never been the cookie cutter punched out, people that just go along with whatever everybody else is doing.
That's why I do the women's event. If you show, like, the main reason I do it for survivors and victims and their families is because they need to know people are out there, that they've experienced it. There's a support system out there. So maybe they'll come and feel comfortable. Just like if you're thinking about writing a book, the more people that know that you have their back, the more people will come forward. And that's the main reason I do what I do.
Yeah, and so I think that what you're doing with the paranormal retreat, is there going to be a segue, a way for you to go into this kind of talk, or is it just going to be something that you're not going to bring up, or how does that work?
Well, what it is for the women's event, we actually had a panel, and I was thinking about doing one for the men that support survivors. I do ask that all our speakers be supporters, but we advertise that we're collecting donations for the shelters, and then we do a raffle and a silent auction, and all that money goes to the shelter from those.
Yeah, I'm going to be off camera for just 1 second, but I can still hear you. Go ahead.
I'm just reading this. So you made a comment about people fighting back about this isn't the place. It doesn't happen. I had posted about the women's event, and I actually had a guy, and I don't remember his name, but he was supposedly, I think he was a troll, retired Air Force. And he goes, the paranormal and this type of event do not go hand in hand. If you're going to get people involved, you need to do it outside the paranormal field. Oh, the comments and replies back to him were not nice at all. Because people are saying it happens to women in this field. Women are uncomfortable, like with the locations and with some of the teams. So yeah, it does go hand in hand. And my friends and I were talking, and we think maybe it hit a chord with him because he was an abuser himself. And that seems to be a lot of them that buck at supporting the events are actually the abusers.
Yeah, and between you and I've been told about certain individuals who've been accused of certain things, not just in the paranormal, but also cryptid and the UFO field, that have done things, and I've kind of tended to stay away from that because I don't want to, be a part of, of promoting someone who's, and if it's just one person saying something, that could be, but if you have multiple people saying the same thing, then you kind of have to kind of look at it and go, well, I don't know. But even then, you got to kind of do your due diligence. And I think with the couple people I've managed to avoid some situations. And there is one researcher, who I will not deal with at any cost, no matter what and I won't say his name on here because I don't want him, but he, let's put it this way. He is a Dogman expert thing, whatever he thinks he is. And he has gotten men out into the field and, basically, hit on them, yeah. And so there've been multiple people who've told me about this individual, and he was somebody that I did not get along with from Jump Street, and I actually did confront him about it when he started in on me with something, and he's very mean and nasty toward women, and he's married. I mean, he's married, and like I said, we're not here to gossip or talk about, but this does happen. I confronted him straight up. I said, I know 4 guys who've said something about you, and he tried to say, well, I'm married. I said, and it's weird too, because you're always attacking women. So he's always attacking women, and then he's hitting on men, and then he's, it's it's pretty messed up. And then he tried to make all these, pointing the finger at me about my beliefs on Dogman and this and that. And I'm like, this goes beyond Dogman, dude. It goes beyond your behavior. It goes to your behavior and the things that you've done and said. And I, to this day, have not spoken out because these men that it happened to did not tell me, hey, I want you to be my champion or my advocate. So I haven't said anything about it. But one of them did tell me that he sent screenshots, like messaging him all night long, saying things that were And then when the guy tried to say, look, this isn't I'm going to expose you. He's like, oh, yeah, nobody's going to believe you, this and that. And I'm like, the screenshots are right there.
Don't you love it?
Yeah. And I'm like, what?
Because you delete it on your side doesn't mean the person it's deleted.
I think that's what he thought. That's what he thought. And in fact,
Okay.
one of the NADP people, I think one of the NADP people that actually said something about him publicly one day. But it didn't really go anywhere. He just kind of said it in a group and it got taken down. But you'll know who he is. He said something about them. And I believe he said with the NADP. And he called him out on it, dude. And the dude was like, oh, well, that's not true. That's just something that Josh Turner said that I didn't. He thinks that I'm the one that said something and I didn't even say it. It was not even me. It was two of the directors. And because he's not a member, he's not a part of y'all's organization. But he tried to say that I had blackballed him. I was like, how the hell am I going to blackball you, dude? All I did was stand up for what I believe were the victims. Now, he didn't physically do anything to them. But when you get someone out in the field and then you tell them, hey, let's do this. And they're like, what? And then he goes, oh, no, I'm just kidding. And he does that multiple times to people.
But how many men have responded, okay, for him to continue to do it?
Yeah, he continues to do it. So, I mean, maybe he just does it and sees what he can get out of it. It's like a guy that was attacking us recently was showing people pictures of women. And, now they weren't nude and nothing like that. It wasn't like inappropriate photos, but he was like, to me, though, that's a gateway to see how you respond. And if you're okay with that, then he'll bring out something else. Mm-hmm. Now, I never got that far. But it happens, and it happens a lot in this field with people being highly inappropriate and misbehaving. And, it makes me wonder, like, how much of this has gone on to the point where there's blackmail that's also happened. I know one guy got blackmailed by a female, and that person too. And this person chose to ignore the misbehaviors of another individual to everyone's detriment because that person had the information. Now, I'm not going to blame the guy for it. He made a mistake. But this person that was holding it over his head, she was getting a lot of traction for it. And she was using that. And now when she came after me, I told her, I was like, good luck. You can make something up, but you ain't going to find none of that dirty laundry in my backyard. And I'm not squeaky clean. I talk about my past and what I've done. But, yeah, you ain't going to find some woman that's going to be able to say with being truthful that I hit on them because I'm happily married and that's just not me. And, you don't hear that stuff. They say everything they can, they talk about everything they can, but that's not part of it. It's never going to be because I don't do that. I just don't. And now, like I said, I'm not an oak, I'm not the pillar of the community, whatever. But that if you say anything at all that it can be misconstrued, your enemies are going to have a field day. They're going to jump all over it. So I don't have to worry about that there because I'm not attracted to that, whatever. And I keep myself, to where I'm supposed to be. With my wife.
Yep.
But there's a lot of people in this field that don't do that. And some of these people, I think they use this field to do that too. I've seen it personally. So it's an unfortunate thing. And then when I started talking about the Bigfoot thing, people were like, oh no, he's talking about that. That's just one tile over from talking about what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And so I really think some of these people that have been upset about what I said, I'm like, why are you upset? Do you think we're going to start talking about that? Because I'm not even saying anything right now. I'm just talking about what the Bigfoot are doing. And it is happening. It's a real thing. And, we talked about on Sunday too, about animals, about how they abuse people's animals. And the braiding of the hair of the horses, that's another weird thing they do.
Yeah.
They do some weird stuff, but you also get that with the fae, with the fairies. They do it too. And they'll braid the hair and all this stuff. It's a bizarre, I don't understand. I don't know that. But there was a woman that reached out to me last night. I guess it was just last night. And she told me, she says that she had a guy that worked for her and he was from El Salvador. And he was working on her horse ranch. Now, get this. This happened in California. So she said that he used to braid the horse's hair, right? But she found an altar and a few other things in his bunk, because they had like a bunkhouse, and that he practiced brujeria. And that some of the people that were in the bunkhouse that shared the bunkhouse with him were saying that at night they would see these, like, I call them sprites. I don't know, these little like balls of light that look like people that came up close, and they were coming through the wall and they were going in front of the windows, and that he would go to sleep and he would talk in his sleep in this weird language that wasn't Spanish, because all the other workers were from Honduras or Mexico. They spoke Spanish and did not know what the hell this guy was saying. And at the same time, they were seeing these sprite-looking beings. And then their horses, she said, do you think that maybe something could have happened with the horses? I said, I don't know. Now, to this day, as far as I know, she has not seen a Dogman or a Bigfoot on the ranch or around it.
That's a positive.
But she has had the horse braiding the hair or whatever. And this individual, also, too, he had a predilection toward some of the women, in town. Like, he was always like getting drunk and grabbing girls and doing things that were inappropriate. And so to me, it just kind of goes hand in hand. I mean, you're that kind of person, and then you're practicing this black magic, and now these entities are showing up, and then the horse's hair is getting braided. It is weird. I mean, there is a connection. There's got to be. What it is, I don't know. I can't sit here and tell you, because I haven't been able to talk to her enough to put all the pieces together. But she said she's going to keep me updated. I think that what we're looking at too with these people is that it's not something that they're going to come out and admit to, obviously, because who the hell wants to be known as that guy? You know what I mean?
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. Just reading some of the comments here.
I had seen one earlier from Anthony. I have to find it.
And we're early in the day right now, so we only have 182 people in the chat, and usually we have 300, 400, 500, whatever.
I'm catching up at work, so
yeah, we didn't want to let Tuesdays slip, because we used to always be on Tuesday. That was our first time slot ever. And so Tuesdays were our show, and so we decided to keep it going. Tomorrow night, folks, tune in tomorrow night. I got Seth Breedlove coming on. We're gonna talk. Seth, a friend of mine who does Small Town Monsters, of course, and then eventually I'm going to do a panel with him, Eric Palacios from Media Palace, and Chris Garitano. And but that's going to be in the future. What I'm going to do tomorrow night is just talk to Seth, see what he's got going on.
I found his comment. Anthony said, I have a bug. It won't leave me alone.
Gnats.
You mentioned Fae and sprites.
You talking about gnats? Are they gnats?
It looks like a little tiny moth.
Oh, okay. Because gnats are horrible in Texas right now.
It's funny. You mentioned Fae and sprites, and then this bug started flying. He said they complain there's too much drama in the field, but then complain when you address the very source of the drama. And I agree 110%. That caught my eye earlier. And yeah, they just get on a high horse when you mention it. But yet I think sometimes they just want something to complain about.
Well, I think it's funny when they make groups too. There's like no drama in this group. Yeah, right. If you have human beings and there's more than a few of them, there's going to be drama.
Oh, yeah.
That's just the way it is, dude. These people are always using like, I don't want to have drama, whatever. Yeah, right. It's going to happen regardless. You don't have to bring it to yourself, but it's going to happen because the people in this field it's just riddled with it. And it's in everything. It's in the security field that I'm in. It's in the club business I used to be in. Mm-hmm. In the fight game, when I used to coach and fight and do whatever, it was always the drama, the backstabbing, the whatever. Why did that guy get to do this and I didn't get to do? It goes on and on and on.
Yeah, I know when Ariana played travel softball, there was just drama between the teams and drama between the parents and the players. It's just anything you do, there's drama. But you were talking about earlier about women feeling comfortable. And since now I'm a regional director, I told the guys that I would take over all the female reports because I figure they would feel more comfortable talking to a woman than a guy calling them up and talking to them. So
Mhm.
if any women want to talk about anything that's happened with Dogman, Bigfoot, ghosts, anything, I'm open to it. And I'm keeping track. I was telling them the other day that I was looking, I can't find it. That's why I was digging for it earlier. I'm at my work desk, my paranormal work desk. But we have these reports, and let me see. It was 1, 2. We have these reports, and like 80% of these are women that's reported it.
Come on, Athena.
I haven't really got to talk to them, but I was just looking through. Hey, hold on.
Athena, come on. Come on. Athena.
Our puppy, I think, wants to tell you hi.
Bye.
She won't go upstairs with my daughter. But
Well-
yeah, she's a Bernedoodle. She looks like a miniature cow.
Mm.
The hair, she's cute.
Oh.
But yeah, most of these reports we've got are women. It just amazes me. So I'm going to reach out to them. But if any ladies want to speak to a woman, I'm more than welcome. They're more than welcome to reach out to me.
Yeah, and how would they go about getting a hold of you?
They can message me on Facebook. It's Jen Jacobs. I have my Maine Coon. Are you jealous, Josh? I know you want one.
Yeah, I'd love a Maine Coon cat, but right now, it's just maybe once I get this house remodeled and get moved in, I'll be done with that. And then I got a build that I'm doing too. So once I'm done with all that and we figure out where we're going to be living permanently, at least for a while,
Yeah.
because this house, I got to get out of this house. And I'll be honest, there's a lot going on. This house is haunted. I'll tell you folks something that happened to me. About a week ago, I was in the restroom and I looked down and I see fingers coming up underneath the door. And I was wondering like what that was. I thought it was my wife messing with me. And so I was like, okay, honey, yeah, you're messing with me, whatever. So I opened the door and there was nobody there. So that was disturbing to say the least. And to
That's
me,
creepy.
yeah, it's enough for me to be like, you know what? I am okay with getting out of this house because I'll be doing the show. And I've had people tell me they've seen shadows and stuff move behind me, but I've also seen things move out there in the foyer. And I'm going like, what is, because I'm in my study. And I'm like, what is that? You know?
Our house is haunted too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Xander, you know, when you wear house slippers, they kind of scuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was in my bedroom, I think it was last night, and Xander was in the bathroom, and he's 8. And he's like, Mom, where are you? I was like, I'm coming. And he's like, were you walking in the kitchen? I said, no. Why? He goes, I heard somebody scuffing like you do with your house slippers on. And Graham sounds like. So he's been hearing stuff. And we have a Victorian woman. This house was built in 1800. And we have a Victorian woman that stays upstairs on the landing. And I've seen her come down the steps. I've seen the little boy again. Have you seen anything lately?
I'm pretty sure. Like, I think the last time I saw something was around that corner.
Oh, yeah.
Because remember that time I was walking in the kitchen?
Yep.
I saw somebody peeking around that corner.
Oh, yeah. He's seen somebody peeking around a corner in a kitchen, too.
Oh, gosh.
That happened yesterday. We had one of our ladies that works for us, and she has a cleaning service. So she came yesterday and helped us clean the house. And she saw something while she was in the kitchen. She saw something looking at her around the corner.
Here you go.
Oh, wow.
Remember the time I was...
He's a big boy.
Mom, remember
How big is he?
I told you that I was...
He's not giant. He's probably about 2 feet long. He's about, I don't know, that big around.
They're beautiful animals, and they're also very gentle typically, too.
He is so smart.
Yeah.
He will, if he wants me to pet him, he'll wrap his paws around my wrist and rub his head.
Wow.
Yeah, he's very sweet.
But Mom, remember that time I was
Look.
face to face with him?
No, but that's okay. Hold on. He's wanting to tell you his story.
So I was waiting for my mom to get out the bathroom. I was waiting and
Come over here.
I was by the
Tell Josh hi.
Hi.
Hey,
You were waiting for what?
For you to get out the bathroom to go to bed because I was scared to go to bed by myself. And I was waiting by the door, that entrance in the kitchen. I was waiting, and then I saw something right in front of me, 2 legs in front of me.
Yeah, he sees stuff in that kitchen all the time.
how long have y'all lived there?
Oh, we moved in here in 2017.
Hmm.
What, 7
How
years?
old is the house?
1800.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
well, that'll do it.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of people coming and going in there.
Well, I went to a solar eclipse event down at Randolph County Asylum. And the time before that, we went, my partner Becky, something went home with her and messed with her son, and always likes to pick on him.
Hmm.
Whatever, anything picks on him. Well, she sent it back. And the last time, I have an evil eye keychain, and I drove home, and I've had this thing for years, and it broke right outside my door after I got home from Randolph County. And I think something followed me home because we've had a little bit of activity pickup since I was there.
What kind of evil eye is it?
Oh, it was just like the blue, just like
Oh,
the
okay.
Greek one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really Greek. It's actually Turkish. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the blue one. But I agree with Mara. The veil has thinned a whole lot.
You're talking about that one right there. Well, let's see if I can back it up a little bit.
It just looks blank.
Yeah, it looks blank. It's not. Good grief, man. I can't even. I'm trying to get it to show everybody. See if I can pull up the images of it.
Oh, somebody's found you a Maine Coon breeder in Texas.
Really?
Go sit down.
It's going to have to wait for right now, but I'll eventually.
We actually found him at the shelter.
Okay, so you know, and what this is, folks, is that's it. That's what it looks like right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
what he
Nazar.
looked like.
Yeah, there's a name for it. It's called the Nazar. Yeah, and the Nazar, it's Kurdish actually in origin, but it was adopted by the Turkish, and then of course it spread all over the Levant, through the Middle East, and it became like the symbol to ward off evil. That's yeah. And a lot of people, if you go to Middle Eastern, Mediterranean people, just they'll have it in their house, hanging up in their wall. Some people in Islam don't believe in it, and some people are okay with it. But it predates Islam by thousands of years. And it was going all the way back before, as far as I've heard, what I've read, before even the Zoroastrians, which is pretty much the oldest monotheistic religion on earth that we know of. Some would argue that Hinduism is actually the oldest monotheistic, but on the surface, somebody who's not real well read or researched what they'll say is Hinduism is a type of paganism that involves multiple gods, but in reality, they're all just aspects of Brahman, aspects of one guy. Every one of those is just another aspect of him. And there are multiple versions of the main aspect of him too, which can get kind of confusing. But at one time, there were 246 or 249 deities in the Levant until Islam took over, and the main deity that they accepted as the true one God was actually Allah, which the name means God, but it was actually the moon god because they used a lunar calendar. Now, Islam and the people that practice it, the people that practice Islam, they will argue with you all day long that they don't worship the moon god, but that's actually that's what that was. He was the head of the pantheon of all their gods. Sorry, folks, my hair. I was out working today and I was sweating so bad, running around doing errands and stuff. Then I had to jump on and get on the show. So, I'm a little bit haggard here. Forgive me. But so what we were talking about, like on Sunday, and I don't know if you want to get into some stuff here, but as far as like your encounter, you want to retell that and we can go from there?
The Dogman one?
Yeah, either one, whatever you got.
Oh, it all happened about the same time. Well, no, I take that back. The Dogman happened, what was it? It was before COVID. So it was when I moved up here, like 2016, 2017. And I had been walking, it was before I moved into this house. Xander was about a year old, not quite a year old. And we were staying with my mom. She lives in the country in a subdivision. And we were going for a walk. I was pushing him. And that sixth sense you were talking about, like somebody's watching you, the hairs on your neck stand up. It just feels like, what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The heebie-jeebies kind of.
Oh, yeah.
So I started looking around and I was like, okay, there's nobody outside. There's nothing here. So I just started taking pictures because as a ghost hunter or a paranormal investigator, when you start getting the heebie-jeebies, you start taking the pictures. So that kicked in. So I started taking the pictures and I got photos of something. I sent them to Jody. He looked at them too. I won't release the pictures because I don't want all of that. But I do have
a lot
photos.
of drama when you do.
Yep. And a lot of, oh no, that's a dog. That's not a dog man. It's a bear. It's a wolf. It's something else. So I'm not dealing with all that. I have my evidence myself, so I'm good with that. And then all of a sudden it was very small and it was sitting by a fence post. And I didn't see it with my naked eye. I did not see it at all until I started looking at the pictures. And then my son he's 21 now. So he was like 14, 15 at the time. I gotta think. He was younger. And he would start getting knocks on the windows. And he would hear low growls outside. And he would go outside and hear stuff on the roof. And he was telling me, and we figured out it was a juvenile that was coming to visit. And then I was up one night with him and I looked across the street and there was something going around the neighbor's house that was almost to the gutters. And I looked again and I could see its arm and it had like the sharp claws. I could see that. One night I was driving home and he called me in a panic. And this has not happened since. It didn't happen before. I said out loud, I said, please just leave him. And as soon as I said that, something in my mind, they say they have telepathy. And I really believe it after this. It said, it's not us that was bothering him that night. And then before we even moved up here, and well, let me back up. And that was in the spring. Then in the fall, we started having more things happen. I think they were migrating in the spring. They migrate in May. They migrate in October. That's what I figured out so far.
The Bigfoot or the Dogman?
The Dogmen, they migrate. You changed hats.
Yes, I did. This hat right here was like bothering me.
My son's dad does that too. I get it. But in the fall, we had come home and I have security lights. And Caden jokes around. He goes, oh, I bet it was the Dogman out here. And I was like, that's what I was thinking too. So we brought the groceries in. I went over to my mom's and I came back home and the security lights were on again. And I got out of the car, came in the house, and I heard three distinct, we have a metal roof. So, when something sharp hits metal, it makes like a tink sound. Mm-hmm. We heard three distinct tink, tink, tink on the roof above our heads. Ariana says, Mom, I just heard somebody talk, but I don't know what they said. And that was the fall. And that's when I saw the Bigfoot too. It crossed the road right in front of me. It was all about the same time. And so I saw the Bigfoot the same time in the fall. And it was almost up to like the no passing signs. I don't know if you have them in Texas. They're like the yellow signs that say no passing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was almost to the top of that sign that Bigfoot was. And I didn't think about what it was. All I thought was, why in the hell is somebody dressed all in like a rusty orange color with a white hat? And then I realized it kind of clicked when I saw the height of it. And it walked into the cornfield. And of course, me being me, I stopped to see if I could see it. But it had disappeared into a cornfield. And before we moved up here was my first Dogman encounter. And this is where the ghetto booty comes in, right?
I remember this.
So,
That's the part I remember about your story.
yes.
Yeah.
So before we moved up here, it had been about a year before we moved. So it was like 2015. And I was getting Ariana in the car, and I looked over at the neighbors, and all I saw was the round butt just bouncing along the hood of the car. And I'm telling you, it was round. It reminded me of a gorilla or an ape, the shape of it. And I don't know I don't know if it was a Dogman. I don't know if it was a Bigfoot. And then let me think. The kids are talking. They kind of distracted me. But then I didn't turn around and go that way. I went the opposite way. I told Ariana, I said, get in the car now. And she's like, what? What'd you see? I was like, no, just get in the car. And eventually I told her, she's like, are you kidding me? She was young. She was probably 8 when I saw that. And then we moved up here and I saw that one, and Caden had his encounters. And then I'm trying to think. Yes. And then I'm trying to think what else happened. Oh, when we lived in that same place in Fort Wayne, we had been outside at night and we heard howls. And Jody actually, I didn't know this at the time, but it was in Fort Wayne, and he did an investigation out on Till Road in Fort Wayne. A man had seen something inside a house moving, and his dog would not go near it. He just stopped, wouldn't move. And that was about a mile from my apartment. And I was like 21, 22, something like that, going in and out at night with a Dogman running around. And I had no idea that was going on until 2015 when I met Jody. Zip it.
Yeah, because I started like doing, I think I made my first appearance on DER 2015 or something like that. And I started doing a lot of research and gathering reports. And I was like, I have all this information. What am I going to do with it? But I wasn't in any of these groups. I wasn't doing anything with it. I was just doing a lot of research. Yeah. And so I was finding, though, that Bigfoot and Dogman were kind of in the same area.
Yeah, they are.
But they kind of segregate in a way that like they'll be on one side of that area and then they'll be on the other side of that area, but they're still in that same area. And then there'll be this separation between that hot spot and another one. It's weird. It's almost like they travel from one hot spot to the next and stay in those areas for whatever reason. And then they kind of like have a border with one another, but they don't typically like, there's not a whole lot of interaction. There are stories of interaction, but not like a ton. Somebody just asked a question, Malay Amaru Kukula, off topic, but I wonder if someone has seen Tolkien-like elves. Yes, and that was going to be the topic of one of our Tuesday discussions, which was elves of the inner earth. And people see them quite a bit, actually. People see different types of pointy-eared, strange, elf-like creatures. They do a lot of different weird things. I mean, you get reports all the time. But real quick though, since that just kind of popped up, what have you heard about that, Jen?
I've not heard anything about that.
No,
that's a new one for me.
Yeah, because elves. I mean, it's like We were
That
talking about a forbidden
specific
book.
one.
Do what?
The specific elf, the Tolkien. Is that how you
Well,
say
the
it?
Tolkien one is basically like the pointy-eared,
You stop.
but the elves that look more like orc
Mm-hmm.
goblin type, that they're inner earth. Those are the ones I hear more about. But I have heard of the like these white skinned light with the ears. Two places in particular. Up near the Arctic in Russia, and then of course in Iceland. Two of those places that you get the Tolkien type elves that I have heard of. Now but I take that back, 3, because I've heard of it in Northern Ireland and Scotland. So I kind of put those two together, even though they're two different countries, they're right there together. So the Northern British Isles,
That would make sense, though.
Yeah, I have a couple reports from a guy from Wales who was Welsh that had, but it was interesting because we're talking about this, right? But one of them was they were elf-like creatures that were seen with Bigfoot. Now that happened in Wales, and it happened in northern Wales, and it happened more than one time on this guy's property. But that's not unheard of, because I told a story on the show about some people who were having a Dogman encounter off and on in their house, but they were having weird stuff happen in their house, and then they see this. It's weird. I talked about it on the show. If I remember correctly, there was like this melted wax weird thing that they had in their den, and it was like in the kind of the shape or shell of like what was a werewolf type creature, but then this elf-like thing was inside of it. I know it sounds bizarre. Yeah, it was a really bizarre case. But after I told that one, I got somebody who sent me a story from Kentucky, which I thought was interesting, and it was from right outside of Louisville. And they were telling me that they had seen well, they called it a gnome. I mean, and what is a gnome as opposed to an elf? I mean, I don't know.
I don't either.
But it was, I mean, what is it, right? And it was running, and then when their dog started to give chase to this thing, it like jumped kind of like forward like a dog would, and then it turned into a small black dog that grew and grew and grew until their dog like stopped chasing it. And this thing did an about face and then began to chase their dog, which was a Pomeranian, which ain't going to do much,
It'll yip.
Yeah. So this black dog became a black German Shepherd wolf type thing or something. And that was an interesting story too, because it does show these duendes, or monitos, as they say in Spanish, doing things that are like, shape-shifting, which is what you hear them do. Like you hear about them doing it. You hear about them playing music and enchanting people that, don't eat the food and things like that. But then the inner earth, there was someone that, it was really weird. It was the inner earth thing. And it was just like, I can't even describe to you like how bizarre some of these beings are that you get from the inner earth. I mean, some of them are just, they're not like anything we have up here, but then some of them are. Some of them have characteristics of humans. They look human, but they're not humans. I mean, obviously. And then you have different species down there. Now, I believe that Dogman and Bigfoot have a metaphysical aspect to them. I don't know if I subscribe to the migrating thing. I know that, some people, you included, believe that they migrate, they do this and that. I don't know that I think they do it, but I don't think they do it for any real physical reason. I think that they're the ones that are from the inner earth don't need to do that they go back to the inner earth. And I really believe that those are really the only ones that are out there. I don't think that if you walk around in the woods all day long, that you're necessarily going to see one of these things. I don't think that's how it works. Because if it did, more people would be seeing them, because the encounters tend to be kind of like chance. Like what happened to you, it's just kind of like it happens,
And I just forgot about this until just this minute. So the same time that we kept seeing that one, my cousin used to live in the same small town with his mom and dad. He was telling me, so there's a railroad track that runs along the edge of town, and my mom's subdivision is in the country part of town. but they lived in town. So it's like a mile between the subdivision and town. And they were driving the back road beside the railroad track. And he said he looked up and there was something running along the car with red eyes. And his mom and dad saw it too. And then that same summer, my friend Lizzie said was working second shift and was coming home that back way beside that same railroad track. She lives over by it in the, like on the edge of town. She lives like maybe 3 blocks from the railroad track. And she was working second shift. Xander, stop. He's being noisy and he's distracting me. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
She was driving along that same street my cousin and his parents were. And she said there was something that walked out in front of her on 2 legs. She flipped her brights on and it dropped down onto all fours and ran into the woods that's over by her house. I just remembered them telling me about that. It was all that same summer.
And so you've seen Dogman and Bigfoot.
Yeah.
At around the same time, right?
Yep. In the fall.
And do you think it was part of the property?
The Dogmen are more out here where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bigfoot was maybe 4 or 5 miles away, more towards the big. I live in the country in a small town. It takes me about 10 minutes to get to like the city. But that was closer. But I don't know if they'd be on the same property or not. The Dogmen tend to stay in the woods out here. I'm curious. I live in an Amish community. I'm really curious, and I've said this multiple times, what they see and hear on their farms. But I'm going to have a heck of a time trying to find out because they won't talk.
Yeah, they won't. They won't talk to you. Now, you can talk to the Mennonites. And in fact, I have a couple connections. Here's the trick. How to talk to the Amish, folks. Talk to the Mennonites.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're the go-between. And I know a handful of Mennonites. And I know some former Amish that work for me. So I can get a lot of information from them. But there are friends that the Amish they'll stay friends with them. You know what I mean? And then they have inroads. So I've got a lot of information from the Amish. I've compiled quite a bit, actually, through Mennonite connections and then through former Amish that can actually still talk to people within the community. And get this, especially with the younger generation, a lot of them have cell phones.
Oh, yeah, they do.
They do. They actually do. And and they'll give you information. Now, one of the things I did do some research on, and I was given like a lot of information on this, which is a book that they use called My Companion. And it's actually a book of magic.
I've heard about that too.
Yeah. So, and I've also talked with a few people, like one in particular, Patrick Meacham, who's lived and he wrote a book about his time living amongst them and what ended up happening. And they do a lot of black magic. They really do. And everybody's got this idea that because they don't believe in technology and that they're a pretty close community, that they have this sort of built-in morality. And I'm here to tell you right now, that's not necessarily the case.
No, I second that.
Yeah, Yerk 14 says a lot of Mennonites are very down to earth. Yes, they are.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I would give the Mennonites the nod over the Amish. And I would say this, why not passing judgment, but what I know. Because the Mennonites tend to like be a little more realistic and know that they have to deal with technology and they have to deal with the world around them. The Amish tend to be in a cliquish sort of closed community where a lot of things happen and they sweep it under the rug.
Oh, yep.
So they don't have to ever deal with the English world, as they call it. That's what they call us, is the English world. Mm-hmm. And so that these church leaders, these elders, can kind of continue to hold sway. And I'm going to say this right now, there's a lot of abuse that goes on, physical and otherwise. And they are very repressed people. And that tends to come out in very negative ways when you repress people, which more and more people, young people, when they go to Rumspringa, as they call it, they're not going back. They're just leaving.
One of the girls that I know, she actually, this is ironic. This is irony. When she turned 16, she decided to become English, and like she's still to this day. And she had an accident with an Amish buggy. Like they pulled out in front of her and she hit it. I was like, oh, that's kind of irony there.
Wow. And one of the things I learned from the Amish too, there was a story that I covered about a goat man, and it was terrorizing an Amish community. But it turned out that, well, they themselves had summoned it. It was, because they do a lot of black magic ceremonies, and it's really ironic that this people that are revered and looked up to in Ohio and Pennsylvania in particular. They have these large communities and they're thought of as this down to earth people, whatever, but they're doing really, really dark magic. And so that's not even like, that's not even something that I assume. No, that's what I know to be happening. So yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on.
Well, this is Amish related. I used to work for a mental health facility that is Mennonite. And one of my former coworkers told me that there was so much inbreeding here where I live at, they had to ship women in from Pennsylvania.
Wow.
So, and to answer JoJo, yes. The white bonnets are the Amish. Mennonites wear, like, I don't know what they call them. They look like little doilies on their head. That's the Mennonites. And they drive and they watch TV. My mom's previous neighbors across the road from her this was well before I saw the Dogman over there. They were Mennonite, and they are some of the greatest people I know. And we still talk to them to this day.
Yeah, SJP, that's Patrick Meacham that you're talking about right there. Pretty sure he was on Merkel's show and on mine. Me and Merkel have shared a lot of witnesses. Some of them go on his show and tell their story, and I just retell their story, or they'll tell it on my show. It just depends.
Oh, yeah, they don't believe in divorce either. I'm reading the comments. Nope.
So if there's an abusive relationship, it just keeps happening.
And, we were at a little greenhouse last weekend, the Friday before Mother's Day, and it's Amish owned. The people are nice, and Xander was with me, and you saw he's mixed, half black, half white, and these little girls just kept staring at him, and they'd stare at him, and they would speak Dutch and look at him, and it was starting to upset him. And I guess the kids on the bus do the English kids the same way. They'll talk about them and stare and speak Dutch and talk about them.
Yeah. And they're a closed, like I said, a closed community, and people put them on a pedestal thinking that they're moral. And it's not necessarily the case. Just the people there, and they are racist. I mean, I'm going to be honest, they are. Mm-hmm. And they have a lot of, they're very chauvinistic too.
Well, when I worked at Walmart doing security there, we had a new manager. She actually moved from Texas up here. And she said, she was like, oh, Amish people. She was so excited. She'd heard all this positive things. And then after she started working here, she said, I thought the Amish people were supposed to be so humble and so polite. And she's like, I learned they are not what people say they are.
Mm-mm.
Yes, there was a show, the Amish Mafia.
Amish Mafia, yeah.
Yes. And I think there really is an Amish Mafia.
There is. There definitely is, yeah.
I'm reading Margot. Very mean spirit because they're so children. Margot, aren't you from Michigan, you said? I was reading your comment about spiders. Yeah, there's some big ones up there.
Australia.
Xander. Watch TV.
D Truth says, how many cops have Amish killed? How often do they murder each other? Well, they actually do murder each other. That's the truth. And a lot of times it gets covered up. The heads of their organ or community aren't supposed to have contact with the outside world, but they do. And a lot of times they are very, they have money because they do sell a lot of their stuff, and you know, they have a lot of land. And so they have a little bit of power in their community. Well, a lot of power actually in their local communities and their governments, and they pay people off. So if you're trying to be snarky, D Truth, which usually we get along, but I know a lot about their communities. I had two of them work for me for years that left during Rumspringa. One left, and he went back and retrieved his friend who stayed for several years and was horribly mistreated. And they told me and like 15 to 20 of my people the honest truth of what they went through and how horrific their life was. Some of them basically were like slaves. So yeah, they murder each other quite a bit. Let's put it that way. If you want to get honest about it, let's be honest. I could bring on this show multiple people who can tell you that the Amish are not what you think they are. If you want to get real about it, I'm just saying. And I don't know about murdering cops. You know, I don't know about that, but I know that they murder one another and they do murder people, and they do commit. I know for sure a lot of animal sacrifice. They have a Necronomicon of their own, a book. This isn't bullshit. I'm being honest. I mean, people when I come on the show,
I've heard about it too.
Yeah, I mean, people think that when I come on here and I talk that I'm over here just popping off, saying whatever. No, there's facts to back this stuff up.
Mm-hmm. Jojo said, aren't they forbidden to drink alcohol? They're not supposed to, but you wouldn't know.
They drink it all the time.
Oh, when I would check their carts leaving Walmart, they would have beer, liquor. Yep. And
also, they get it typically through the Mennonites. The Mennonites go and they buy it for them. But
they had their bonnets on.
Yeah. A lot of them, they like to smoke too. They call it green corn. They call marijuana green corn. Yeah.
Yep.
They also deal drugs. They also, there was a large bust a few years ago. They were selling massive amounts of cocaine. And because the police don't tend to mess with them, they were a good go-between, you know, to be able to just smuggle it, you know.
They grow Mary Jane out there in their fields.
Oh, yeah. A lot of it too.
Yeah. He said, I knew a plug that was Amish.
Here's another one. Somebody said that so, yeah, I mean, you know, to say that they don't kill each other and whatever, I mean.
Some woman is making accusations.
D Truth says, not snarky, bro. I grew up in Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens. I don't see that violence with the Amish. What Amish are living in New York City?
That's what I was wondering.
Fuck. Excuse my language. I'm not on Rumble here. Tell me about that, because D Truth, I have never been to New York City, so I can't say that, but I have a lot of friends who have, and my friend Rocco actually lives up there. He's a tattoo artist, been living there for about 20-something years, and he was also a skateboard guy, whatever. And he's told me all about. I'd have to ask him and a few of my other friends that live up there in New York City right now. Another one of my friends, Mike, lives up there. He lives in Queens. I'll find out if they see them. What do you know about them, D Truth? That'd be interesting, because I didn't know that Amish lived up there. Now Mennonites do. I know some Mennonites who live in San Antonio. I've talked to them. I ran into them. I met these people at the River Center Mall and became friends with them and just gave them my business card, and they reached out to me. So
I just texted my friend Larissa. She grew up in Brooklyn. I asked her, I said, are there Amish in Brooklyn?
That's weird.
Well, yeah, there's Amish in Michigan. Yeah. They're all over in Michigan. Ohio.
Here's another person says, There was a large Arma dealing methamphetamine ring of Amish in Ohio. Yeah. Yep. And they pack guns too.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend of mine in Ohio got one pulled on him by an Amish dude because he was driving right behind his buggy. You know, they take up the road and they take forever. And so this guy was aggravated, and this dude stopped his buggy, got out, and pointed a Tech 9 at him.
She
So,
said
yeah.
no. I asked her. She said no. LMAO.
Wow.
We could always ask Al and Brian.
Corey Cole says, I'm a grower. Corey, I didn't know you were a grower. What's going on with that, man? Jeez.
I do have a funny story. So the town's so small I live in, there's a 4-way stop. And on one corner is an old Legion. On the other corner is 2 restaurants. On the third corner is a house. And on the fourth corner is the cigarette and beer spot. So there was a horse and buggy sitting there one day, and I stopped at the 4-way stop. And this kid is carrying out 2 big cases of beer and looked up and saw me. And he got really embarrassed. And he held his head down while he was putting it in, and he hurried. He didn't want me to see him with beer.
Wow.
And you could tell he was like, oh, God, I hope. He was wanting to be invisible so bad. And he just was like, oh, I got to get this in here. He was embarrassed that he would, I don't want to say caught, but that I saw him buying alcohol.
You know, imagine some of the stories that they can tell, you know, because, and I've gotten some, you know, out of these Mennonites and because of the people that I knew, but they conjure up a lot of stuff out there. They really do. All right, folks, I got to head out. I got to leave early because I got to go get some stuff done for my wife. She is quite abusive and mean. Makes me do everything. Oh, did I say that out loud? I'm just kidding.
That's what I hear. I hear she's really mean.
Yeah, you hear that? And she's
always mean to. She's always so mean when she talks to me too.
Yeah, I'm sure because she's playing the role.
I know, right?
You in with kindness. That's her little shtick right there.
Yeah,
but folks,
like, oh my God, you again? Yeah, she's always just so mean.
Spunky says, let her eat tonight, Wolf. I don't know. I might. After what she did at the Whole Foods. So, can I have food? Like,
oh, God.
She did that. And then that lady was looking at me like she wanted to choke me. I'm like, are you kidding me? I was like, this woman's not going to take that as a joke.
How can you subscribe to me and have a lot of common with me? So hold on. Yep. Margot asked. I'm on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. If you want to send me a friend request, it's Jen Jacobs, and you'll see my handsome little Maine Coon as my profile picture, and Cedar Point on my other one. And then you can follow me on Eclipse Paranormal, also Erie Events, and then the Midwest Region 2 NADP page. And I have the Indiana chapter of the NADP page too. And yeah, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. I can give my email out. Do you want me to give my email, Josh?
Sure.
It's info, INF as in Frank O, at eclipseparanormal.com. And like I said, anybody can reach out. You can share your story, your experience. If you need somebody to talk to about the SA or the DV, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. You guys are more than welcome to come to our events. Like I said, September 21st is a fundraising event at Ashmore Estates in Ashmore, Illinois. We're going to have speakers. We're going to have vendors. We'll have a ghost hunt in the evening. And it will feature men of the paranormal. But here's the thing that's unique about this event as well. Myself, my friend Tracy, and my business partner Becky, we will be leading a group specifically for women that do not feel comfortable investigating with a mixed group of men and women, or just our male team leads. So we do make it a point to make everyone feel safe. We're open to the LGBTQ community. We're open to transgenders. We're open to everyone. We want a safe spot for you to come share your experiences, where you can ask questions. That's our goal, is to make everyone feel comfortable in the field, not to make them feel intimidated, berated, or mocked. Because you know how, like you were saying earlier, do people really want to come out with their experiences? Are people going to make fun of them? Are they going to be mocked? But that's our goal, is to have a safe space for everybody.
Yeah, for sure, man. And tonight we had a low turnout on the live. I don't know what's going on. That's just one of the lowest turnouts I've had in
It's me.
forever. Nah,
It's me. I'm boring.
it's not you, man, because I didn't even put your name in the heading. So apparently it's just me. I don't know. So apparently people didn't like me today or something. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully they don't dislike me. I don't know.
It's early. It's not even 9 o'clock here.
Yeah.
It's
And we got Tex, who's going to be coming on at not Tex, I'm sorry, BMR, who's coming on at 8 o'clock. I apologize to Danielle for last night. I ended up having to work and do a bunch of crap, and there was an emergency with my job, and I couldn't get away, and I apologize to her and Tex for that. I didn't really mean to do that to him. And I'm going to be on tomorrow night. I'm going to do a show. It's going to be about 6 or 7 too, and I'm going to talk with Seth Breedlove from Small Town Monsters, and I want to get that in the books. And then eventually we're going to do something else. BMR is already on. I thought he'd come on at 8.
Oh, he's in Michigan. It's 8:41 here.
Yeah, but I thought he came on at 8. Okay, 8 Central, I guess. I don't know. Because I just looked, and I know Matt from Planet 412 is on with Chris Garitano. I've always had the Tuesday slot, though. So, everybody else comes out, hey, I'm here. Well, PRT's been doing this since, 5 years now.
Has it really been that long?
Yeah, 5 years.
Wow. Oh,
No,
Anthony said he's not on
BMR
yet.
hasn't started yet. BMR starts in 10 minutes. But Matt is on, but he's only got like 13 people with Garitano. I guess he's been on for a little while. Matt started doing his show on our time slot, and I'm like, whatever. It's not. I love you, Matt. It's nothing against Matt at all. It's just that if you're going to go head to head with PRT, that's good luck. That's up to you. I mean, I didn't ask for that time slot. I just always had it. And so, I do other time slots now, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thursdays, I'm on with Blondes and Booze. But, so that's just what it is. Thursday, I'll be on with Blondes and Booze with Daniel Jones. I had a great talk with him on Saturday. And so he's going to talk to the Blondes and Booze ladies because, our audience typically overlaps, but not totally. And then Friday, I got some stuff going on. We'll have our normal 4-round table people. And then Saturday, we're back on with Rumble. I'm going to have Truth come on, and we're going to talk some conspiracies. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. Truth from Impromptu Truth. I don't know if do you know Truth, Jen?
I like I said, I was trying to catch up on all your lives, like at work.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I spend my day, listening to you. And you were like tearing my heart out today at work. Thank you so much. Talking about your dad and your mom and how they did you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You were like killing me. I was like, no, I know we've talked about our parents before, and it made me laugh because somebody said it's a Jerry Springer show tonight. But yeah, I was listening to Truth and Bass on your show, And I think they're very interesting. Those guys are.
Yeah. For sure. Amy Creel, thank you for that donation. Whew, at least somebody did, because if not, my brother's going to tease me. Well, he probably won't. He just did that one time, because there's only been one show we've ever done, and it was on a Saturday night, and we didn't get any donations. I didn't even notice it until the end of the show. My brother's like, it's because you're ugly. He teased me. And so thank you for that donation, Amy, because that at least keeps me from being shut out.
Tardy
So it sucks to really get shut out. And, I mean, when you get shut out and nobody gives you anything, it's not like you need the money. It's just, it makes you feel like nobody likes you. That's the main thing. You just feel like, man, it must have really sucked.
Well, I do want to tell you this. We're trying to figure out a good day to do the NADP podcast. We're bringing that back.
Really?
Yep. We're going to bring it back.
So when is that going to begin? That's going to be interesting.
We were shooting for June, but we're going to advertise it into June, first part of July. We're trying to find a good day to do it, so it doesn't step on toes.
I see people saying they want to donate, but they're broke. We're not asking for the money. Just show us some love. Give us the views. Give us the likes. That's all you got to do. If you can do it, do it. If you can't. Don't even worry about it. We're not doing this to make money. If I was, I would tell you half a story, then I put the rest behind a paywall.
Oh, that drives me nuts.
Yeah, people do that all the time because they're assholes.
They get you hooked, and it's like, why did you do this to me?
It makes you wonder, too, like, I mean, what is their motive? They obviously aren't here to help the community.
It's more than 15 minutes of fame. I think a lot of people anymore want to be a YouTuber and get paid off of it. And that's a whole other story.
That's the good thing about me. I don't need this. I didn't do this so I could start, like I didn't do this to join to make money. You think people would appreciate that? You're
not going to make money in the paranormal field unless you're on TV. Nah. And then you don't make
on TV, you don't make no money. I figured that out like a long time ago. And there's a way to do it. There's a way to make money. I mean, you can make money at it. You can make a living at it, but don't expect that it's going to make you millions or you're going to become some rich person.
Like Zach Bagans. Nope.
Yeah, you can make some subsistence level work or whatever. But I have businesses. I have 2 businesses besides this, and and I also have a lot of other ways to make money if I needed to, But I also invest and I do things like that because I'm a jack of all trades. And then when I say that, people are like, "This guy thinks he's really something." No, I'm a survivor.
Yep.
And I don't need to cheat and steal my way to get to anything to do it. I'm not a fraud. I don't have to do those things. Some of these people don't have to do it either. They choose to do it. Let's make that very clear. They don't have to do what they do. They do that because they're dishonest. And so to me, it's not going to be some major setback if you can't, that's not it for me. I mean, for me, just coming on and hanging on and doing what you got to do on a Tuesday night, giving the audience something and talking about something that I believe in, which is, the future of this field and where we're headed, and giving women their props and giving them a bigger role. And this ain't pandering to women. It's just the truth. I've talked with you about this, Jen, multiple times. Like, there's a lot of women that just get, let's just be honest, they get shitted on by this field. And it's like what they bring to the table isn't as important. And I think that it's one of those things that needs to be said. And when it's, when we're talking about the subject matter that was pretty sensitive that we talked about on Sunday, I think that it's something that needs to be said. And these other people that don't like that I'm saying it can screw off. Simple as that.
Well, like I said, I had backlash because some guy thought, oh no, the paranormal shouldn't be helping with these shelters and supporting this cause. You know what? By saying that makes you look really guilty.
Mm-hmm. I think that anything can be a good use of a vessel to help. I mean, if you have the name and you have the ability, why not help?
Exactly.
I mean, one day, and I told my nephews and my wife and everybody, wait until I die. Then you can talk about all the good things I did for people, because I don't want to get anything for that while I'm alive.
I get that.
That's the way it should be. Then once I'm gone, then they can say whatever they want to say, and then some of these people can eat a big bag of crow wings because they have no idea. And it doesn't matter because while I'm alive, I don't need to be, you know, your reward isn't in heaven either. I don't believe that. I don't believe that you should be looking for a reward at all. Doing good is its own reward. And I really believe that. People say, well, I'm going to go to heaven and I'm going to get riches in heaven and I'm going to have this, I'm going to have that. Is that why you're trying to get to heaven? Or are you doing these things to get to heaven? Or are you trying to avoid hell? Because if you're doing things for any of those reasons, you're wrong. You should be doing them because it's the right thing to do and it's in your heart to do what's right. That's where the word righteous comes from, is doing what's right. And there's all these self-righteous pseudo-Christian people who believe that they're, and believe me, for you guys, they're going to have to enlarge the mouth of hell when Christ returns. Believe me. It's going to happen. So, folks, I'm going to let you run real quick, Jen, and I'm going to say goodnight to my audience. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here.
Well, thanks
and
for
I
having
appreciate
me.
you. Yeah, and you're somebody in the field that I thought needed some recognition, and
Well, thank you.
I appreciate you showing up, even though it was a little bit early today, and we got it done. And so, tell your kids. I said, hey, tell everybody, hey,
All right.
and just keep doing what you do. And everybody, remember, if you want to get in touch with her about these conferences, these retreats, and all these things, look her up. Her name is Jen Jacobs. She gave you the information, and I'm gonna let you run, Jen.
I'm going to go fix some dinner. Xander thinks he's starving to death.
Well, maybe he is. He's a growing boy. So,
Well, yeah. Yeah, he's growing. All right. Thanks. You guys have a good night.
good night. I'll see you. So that's my friend Jen Jacobs, and there are people in this field who don't like her. There are people, and I'm still friends with them, and that's fine. They don't like whatever. People that don't like me. Robert, what does Robert have to say here? That's why I'm here every time I'm searching for the truth. It's like you, Wolf. You choose to do this for the truth. Absolutely love and respect PRT. Absolutely. Looking at some of the comments here, and I'm going to bounce so that I can make a way for my friends, for BMR. Good friend of mine. Thank you, Madeline, for posting that. Also, Nellie's Music. Please go like and subscribe on Rumble. Thank you for that. Go like and subscribe. And also like and subscribe here on YouTube. People are saying that they're getting unsubscribed. One guy said he got unsubscribed 3 times now. And he just told me that today or yesterday. So that sucks, you know. And then don't forget to like and subscribe to Paranormal Sound Table. That's our music label. Somebody made fun of us and said, you think you're going to become big and make money off of the music? We're not even making money off of it, fool. We're just trying to get people to subscribe so they can go listen and watch. That's it. Get the word out there. Because the music was made for the show. And it's really just a hobby that my wife is doing. And so, yeah, and it's something fun for her to do. And I want her to be happy, and I want to be happy. So there you go. We honestly don't give a damn what people think. You can say what you want and give a crap. You think you're getting to me, you ain't never going to get to me. I don't give a damn. People are like, oh, he's got a thin skin. No, I just like to troll people. And then also, you know, you want to get to me, you want to mess with my family, see all kinds of outlandish shit, then I'm going to say something to you. Watch. Then you'll get your feelings hurt. But you say things that's going to hurt my feelings. No. I don't give a crap. It's you that's going to be upset, not me. When our guy returns from Alaska, we're going to go all balls to the wall. Yes, and thank you for coming on the show, Jen. So everybody tonight, Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to run, and I will see you on the flip side. Good night.